Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and this video is titled Beautiful Young Lives Lost Too Soon. Now, this is really a one-off video for me. If you're expecting something on airplanes, antennas, flight test, or whatever, this is not it. But it's something that I just wanted to say because it's affected me for a very long time. And they say no one is truly gone until everybody that knows about them has forgotten about them. Now, the first one is Billy Russell. Born in 1950, died in 1960. Billy was my best friend. And it used to be Billy, me, Tim, and Mike that would go playing, and we'd do lots of adventures together. We lived in Iowa City, Iowa, and we would play out by the Highway 6 bypass. And this was a highway, and there were drain system culverts that went under it, and they were just big enough for a 10-year-old to slide through. So part of the initiation in the group, quote unquote, was you had to go through the culvert and all the way to the other side of the highway. Well, this was a standard thing we'd do. We'd get in the culverts and we'd go out typically to the center, come out of the drainage um, culvert there, and then we'd go back across the highway. Well, Tim and Mike went in first. Billy was the last. Billy came out and was following Tim and Mike, who went darting across the highway. And being the last one, he was just slightly behind getting out. And unfortunately, they think he didn't look to check the traffic because he runs out and all of a sudden realizes that there's a car coming. And he gets hit by the car and killed. And of course, I'm a 10-year-old. This was tragic. It was a Saturday morning, and I had a lot of animosity for that driver for a long time, not realizing that I'm sure he took the grief of that accident to his death. And here are the three grave sites. Billy's on the far left, and we got Jane, and we got Susan. These are the three oldest of 9 of the Russell family in Iowa City. Now, Jane Ann, she was born in 48. I was born in 50, so she's slightly older than me. And she was an amazingly beautiful young lady, witty, talented, fun. And I didn't know her very well, but when I'd go over there to be with Billy and Susan, and we'd play baseball and stuff, I interacted with her, and she was, you know, just a very gorgeous, intelligent young lady. Well, she got in with the wrong crowd, and this is the trouble that a lot of people have gone through, and she got involved with drugs. And in the early 70s, I was working as a radio dispatcher in Johnson County, Iowa, in Iowa City. And they brought this young woman in and set her down. They were booking her into jail on drug charges. And she had been in a fight and she was beaten up badly. And she looked absolutely horrible, glassy eyed, and was just non coherent. And she's just sitting there. And I was there in the office. It was in the evening, and I happened to look down at the booking card, and I was absolutely shocked that I was looking at Jane. It was just something I couldn't believe. She looked just absolutely horrible. And she moved out of town and later passed away, from what I was told, is a drug overdose. Now, Susan was my first girlfriend. I was in 6th grade. She was in 5. So here I was robbing the cradle. Uh, she was the first girl I ever kissed. She was fun. She was exciting. She was adventurous. She was a tease, and we pelled around for a while, for a couple of years, and she ended up going to another school. Um, Her father, actually, he was an electrician, lived in Iowa City with the mother, with his wife, and in the time that I knew him, they rented and they ended up living in 4 different houses, so they moved quite often. So I don't know if that hurt with the stability of their lives, but Susan also got into drugs. And the thing that happened with her, she lived a lot longer. Uh, she died at 31. Jane died at 23. Um, but Susan lived till 31, and she had moved out of town. But back in the early 70s, she still lived in Iowa City. And I was walking to engineering class one day after parking my car, and she lived in a house with some other people that was en route. And as I walked by, we saw each other, and we looked at each other, and we did a brief hi. Didn't realize that was the last time that I would ever see her alive. Now, I'd like to make a comment about gravestones. This is the family cemetery on my mom's side, the Graven Cemetery. You see the monument on the left, and I guess there's a wide variety in stones and quality of stones. This stone is over 100 years old, and it looks beautiful. Of course, the family had a lot of money, so they had money to put into a high quality and rather elaborate stone. There's an angel on the top. The other stone on the right is a person died in 1853, and of course, you see it's in very bad uh, rapport. The cemetery initially started out in the Graven family, and a lot of the people that were buried there were people who had actually come across on the wagon train. The Mormon Trek Trail went through Iowa City, and a number of the people who died on that were actually buried in this cemetery. But of course, back then, especially if you died in a wagon train, you didn't have a lot of money. Um, you know, probably barely money enough for a stone, and you weren't getting the best quality. So you had to kind of be happy with what you got. And a lot of these stones are in very bad shape, of course. Now here's Billy Stone. Okay. We're talking 60 years ago. And like I said, I don't know much about the quality of stone, but this one has a lot of moss on it. It's very hard to read. And after I took this picture, of course, I brushed it off so it would look better. I think in the very first photo, you see some flowers there. In the 60s and 70s, even in the 80s, there would be flowers on the grave because there was a grandmother, I was told, that lived in the area, but the flowers have long disappeared. And the unfortunate thing about these stones is they were placed on just simply cement slabs, and I guess they should have been somehow attached. But I came there one day and found two of the stones askew. They mow these with, of course, riding mowers, and I guess they may have hit them or something, and they were slightly askew. And when I went to straighten it up, I realized that they are simply setting on top of the concrete slabs. They are not attached. I mean, if somebody wanted to come lift this up and take it, they would be gone, and that's extremely unfortunate. Uh, because how long are these going to last? It's not like you were buried in St. Paul's Cathedral with the elaborate work there, even in the floor, which of course is slowly getting worn away by people walking over it. But um, you know, in a couple of hundred years, these will probably be not viewable or gone, and it's a sad tale. But anyway, I wanted to relate tragic endings of three young people that I knew early in life. Thanks for watching.